Never thought I'd see this day. I can see you smiling at the heaven. Rainy day after rainy day. It's straight A. But I can see you smiling at the heaven gate. Lord sending so much love, but still there's so much hate. Why people talking on your name, they never see your face. Ice falling from the sky, another rainy day. I close my eyes and see you smiling at the heaven gates. Lord sending so much love, still there's so much hate. They talking on your name, but never see your face.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I've been meaning to vlog for a while this thing that I've been getting asked for. Today I am taking a small trip to LA. I came by myself actually. I didn't come with no kids. I just wanted to do me for a little bit and everything. So yeah, so here's the thing. I've been getting asked so many times about my brother that was killed back in 2009, September 5th of 2009. So my older brother, Daniel Gary, we call him Sticker, was murdered back in September 5th of 2009. So let me tell you guys my story of my older brother. So my older brother was 34, I think, maybe 35 years old. I'm not sure exactly how old he was, but he was around there. I only had Junior and Alvin. Ulises was still a baby. I think Ulises was maybe just a couple of months old. And Junior's birthday is in September, as you guys know. And that weekend we were doing Junior's 5th birthday party. I did it at the beginning of the month because Junior always had the luck. His birthday weekend, which is September 20th, would always fall at the time of the Kern County Fair. So every time I did a party for him around that time, no one will show up because everybody would be at the fair. So this year in 2009, I decided to make his birthday on the first week of September. So prior to that, a couple of months before September, I think it was around March, around my birthday. My birthday is March 14th, as you guys know. My older brother, rest in peace, is March 15th. And so on my birthday weekend, I drove up to San Francisco, to Napa Valley, to go spend my birthday with my brother and my kids. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see my brother that weekend. I was calling him and calling him. There was no response. I messaged a couple of his friends. There was no response. He was out partying, doing his thing with his friend and his girlfriend at the time. So yeah. So I was really upset because I didn't spend my weekend with my brother. But he's my brother, so I love him and I forgave him and everything. And then a couple of months later, I think it was like either June or July, we went back up there. I saw my brother. I ran into him. I just saw him for maybe like a couple of hours. And then he went to go do his thing with his friends and his girlfriend and everything. So yeah. So I was kind of bummed out too as well. I was kind of hurt. But, you know, he's my brother. So us siblings always fight and get happy and fight and get mad and cry and laugh and joke and everything, right? I hope everybody does that with their brothers, because if not, there's no sibling love. So I'm trying my best not to cry, so I'm holding my tears in. So I'm sorry if I start crying. I'll pause it and then I'll clean myself up and I'll redo it again. Sorry. I am driving, so be patient with me. So that happened. So September came. I was planning the kid's birthday, well, Junior's birthday, and early that morning we were doing it at my mom's house. Actually, I was still with baby daddy. So my mom lived on one side of the street and my sister lived across the street from my mom. And but we were doing the party at my mom's house because she has a huge yard, and the jumper and everything, DJ, everything was going to be able to fit in my mom's yard. So that day I was busy. We were buying stuff, decorating and getting everything ready, food, decoration, everything. We were like doing everything. I was going all out for Junior's birthday. I always did. I always went all out on my kid's birthday. So I end up leaving because it was like around 11 o'clock ish, or like around 11 a.m. and I went to Little Caesars to go pick up some pizza because the kids were hungry and I was hungry. Everybody was hungry because we haven't ate, because we were decorating, cooking, and getting everything ready for the party and stuff. And right when I pull up to my mom's house, she called me into the house and she's like, "Oh, flaca, flaca, flaca." And I'm like, "Yeah, Mom." She's like, "Somebody wants to talk to you on the phone." And I'm like, "Oh, who wants to talk to me?" And she's like, "Oh, it's your brother, Sticker." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I grabbed the phone for my mom and he's like, "Hey, carnala, hey, sister." And I'm like, "What the hell's your problem?" And he's like, "What, sister, what?" I'm like, "I go down there to go visit you. I can't find you. I don't know nothing about you. Like, you disappeared and everything." And then I went back down there on 4th of July weekend. I think it was 4th of July. And I just saw you for a couple of hours. And then you, like, not even a couple hours, maybe like 30 minutes. I go, and then you take off and didn't even say bye. I'm like, "What the fuck?" Sorry, my language. And he's like, sister, he goes, "I don't want to argue with you. Like, I just called, give you guys some good news. Like, I just want, I don't want to argue." He goes, "I just want to talk to you, tell you how much I love you, how much I miss you." And I'm like, okay, brother, I'm not gonna bring it up. We'll talk about it later. And then he's like, "Okay, sister." And so I'm like, "Okay, bro." I go, "What's the good news, Sticker?" And he's like, "Guess what?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I finally found the woman of my life." He's like, "I'm happy. She's a good person. She has a big heart. Like, I love her. Like, I'm changing my life. I'm gonna do better now. Like, I'm settling down, and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Wow, bro, like, I'm happy. I'm glad that you're finally opening your eyes and you're finally changing. Like, I'm like really, really, really happy and everything." And then he goes, "Oh, well, there's another thing." I'm like, "What, bro?" He goes, "She might be pregnant." I'm like, "What? You're serious? So I'm gonna be a tia now?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dang." I go, "I'm happy." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, she might be pregnant. We're not for sure yet, but she's gonna go get a test and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Whoa." So I was super, super excited for my brother. And then he's like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to her over the phone." So he did. He put her on the phone. He introduced her to me. Sorry, you guys, I don't remember her name. It's been so long. He introduced me over the phone with her, and she was like, "Hey, I'm so-and-so." I'm like, "Hi, I'm Josie. I'm Sticker's younger sister." I'm like, "I just told her, please take care of my brother. Love him. Be there for him and everything." And she's like, "Yeah, I will. I promise." Like, she goes, "I want him to change his life. I want him to be a different person. And, he has a big heart. He's like, he's just a wonderful person." She's like, "I fall in love with him," like all this stuff and everything. And I'm like, "Okay, well, you take care of my brother, please," and everything. So she's like, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Well, nice meeting you." And like, I said, like, "Nice meeting to you too." Then she passes my brother the phone, and I'm talking to my brother a little bit longer. And then I just tell him, "Okay, bro, well, I'm gonna let you go because I gotta finish getting everything organized for Junior's birthday party, because we're having his 5th birthday party today." And he's like, "Oh, tell my little nephew happy birthday. I love him. I miss him. That I'll be going down there pretty soon and everything." I'm like, "Okay, I sure will." And I'm like, "Okay, bro, I love you and I miss you." And he's like, "Okay, sister, I love you too." I'm like, "Okay, I'll go keep in touch and don't forget about us." He's like, "Nah, never. I will never forget about you guys." And I'm like, "Okay, I love you." And he's like, "I love you too, sis." And I end up giving him the phone back to my mom. My mom talked to him for a while. And then I had one of my aunts down from Fairfield, my tia Delia. And she hadn't talked to my brother in a long time either. So she was able to talk to him. And then my sister talked to him. We all got to talk to him. We all got to tell him we love him and to take care and we miss him and everything. And it's just so crazy how, like, I get the phone and I was arguing with him. Like, I was so mad with him. And he's like, nah, sis, I don't want to argue." He goes, "I just want to tell you I love you and, I miss you guys and I'm sorry." And, like, despidiéndose de nosotros. Like, dude, like, it felt like at that moment I didn't think about it, but then afterwards I'm like, wow, like, él los habló y se despidió de nosotros sin querer. like sin querer, like, you know. And it's crazy how life works, like how God brings your family to you mysteriously before taking them away. Like, yo sentí tan feo, like tan gacho, que yo le reclamé, yo le dije pendejada y media, y al último, like, él me comenzó a decir, no hermana, no quiero pelear, no quiero discutir contigo, nomás hablé para decirte que te quiero mucho, que te extraño, que estaba contento, que a lo mejor iba a ser papá, que tenía su novia, que iba a cambiar su vida. Like, it was crazy. So, you know, we all talked to him, nos los pedimos de él, le dijimos que lo queríamos mucho. And then we finally hung up and everything, right? Sorry, you guys, I had to take a quick break real quick because I started getting a little emotional. So we went on about our day. You know, we finished getting everything decorated. We got all the tables set up. We got, you know, all the food ready. You know, people started showing up. The party started like around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Excuse me. People started showing up, all my family, baby daddy's family. You know, it turned out amazing. Like the party turned out really well and everything. Like Junior was all happy, Elvin was happy, like they're running around in the jumper playing with their cousins. Like, then we started like, okay, so it started getting dark. So I'm like, okay, you guys, let's start doing the birthday cake. So, you know, we sang happy birthday to Junior, and then he did his presents. And then I'm like, okay, it's starting to get darker, so we just go to the front yard and do the piñata. And so I had got him like 2 piñatas, like I always do. And so, you know, my brother and my nephew got on top of the roof, and they were doing the strings for the kids to do the piñata. So we ended up doing all the piñatas and everything. And my mom kind of like, she was kind of down, she was kind of upset. Like, she was telling everybody she wasn't feeling good, like her neck was hurting her, like she don't know what was wrong, but she just had this bad feeling. And we were all telling her, Mom, it's okay, like there's nothing going on, there's nothing bad happening, like you're over exaggerating, you're like, you're good, like you're just over exaggerating. Pero mi mamá siempre, cuando algo va a pasar, ella agarra ese dolor aquí en el cuello y ella sabe, ella presiente que algo malo va a pasar. Y nosotros siempre le decimos a mi mamá que está loca, que like nada va a pasar, todo es tu imaginación y no sé qué tanto. Pero mi mamá terca que no se sentía bien, que tenía mucho dolor en el cuello. So, okay, so we finally got her to get over it and to be with the family and have a good time and everything. And so right after we did the piñata,
in 10 miles, keep right onto I-405 south towards Santa Monica.
And so sorry, you guys, my GPS is talking because I am driving to LA, so I'm sorry. So after that, we did the piñata and stuff, and I'm picking things up and I'm taking things inside the house because, you know, little by little people started leaving. This is already like around, oh my god, not thinking about it, it's crazy. My brother, okay, wow, I'll tell you guys what I was gonna say, but let me finish my story. So I went in the house, put things in, mom's house phone rings, and I go answer it, and it was my mom's sister, my tia Irma, Alvin's godmother. It was her on the phone, and I was talking to her while like I answered her. I'm like, hey, hello. She's like, she was screaming, she was crying, I could barely understand what she was saying. I had thought maybe she got into an argument with somebody, like either one of her boys or her husband. I don't know, like I didn't know what was going on, so I was just like overthinking myself, like always. And so I'm like, Tia, calm down, like I can't understand. And then finally, when I was able to understand, she's like, sticker. I'm like, what about sticker, Tia? Like, what's going on? And she's like, he was shot. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean he was shot? she's like, sticker, like, he was shot. And then the phone just like, it went black. Like, I couldn't hear nothing no more. And so then at that point, my uncle, my tío Ernie / compadre, gets the phone, and he's like, Fina, where's your mom? I'm like, she's out there in the backyard. I go, no, I'm not gonna give my mom the phone. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. And he's like, well, we don't really know much, but we got a phone call from someone saying that your brother was shot. I'm like, what do you mean my brother was shot? And he's like, yes. He goes, Sticker was shot. I'm like, hold on. So I'm running around the house. I'm looking for the cordless phone, because back then we had house phones more. So I'm running around looking for my mom's cordless phone, and I found it, and I picked it up. And I remember, you guys, I told you my sister lived across the street. So I ran across the street and to talk to them on the phone. And so my mom wouldn't hear, because I didn't want my mom to know what was going on, because I didn't even know what was going on. And so I went across the street, and I'm on the phone with my uncle, and I'm like, what do you mean Sticker got shot? What do you mean Sticker got shot? He goes, yeah, Fina. He goes, I don't know much. All I know is he got shot, and that he's not doing good. And I'm like, my heart just dropped. Like, it freaking dropped. I had no words to say anything anymore. And then he's like, I'm gonna call this. Let me remind you, Napa is really small, so there's only like 2 hospitals, one in Napa and one in Vallejo. And he's like, I'm gonna go find out. I'm gonna call the hospitals and see what I could get. He goes, I'm gonna call other people and let me find out what's going on. He goes, I really don't know what's going on either. And I'm like, okay, Theo, I go, call me and let me know. So I end up hanging up. And then while I'm in the backyard hanging up the phone, my sister Lisa and my tia Delio is walking up. And I looked at my sister and I'm like, did you know? And she's like, what? I go, I just got a phone call that our brother was shot. She goes, I got a text message. She goes, but she don't know what's going on. Like, she has no clue. They're trying to investigate themselves as well. Remember, we're in Bakersfield. This happened 5-hour drive from where we were at. So we couldn't just get up and go and see what was going on. So we're just going based off information people gave us here, people called us here, text message here, and everything. So my sister's like, I don't know, we like, they haven't, like, I haven't got more information. She goes, I'm looking into it. And I'm like, okay. I go, this not say nothing to mom, let's just wait first before anything. I'm like, we have to wait. We cannot just come up to my mom and tell her, hey, my brother got shot and we don't know what's going on. Like, we needed more info. So at that time, Jessica, Heidi, Victor, Chino, Dominique, Susie, and all them, they were like, all my nieces and nephews were there. I had them all like go into their phones and look for like any news, any type of shooting or anything that happened up in Vallejo, and there was nothing in the system. And remember, I told you guys, there's only like 2 hospitals there in Napa, one in Napa Valley and one in Vallejo. So one is the Queen of the Valley and the other one is Kaiser. So I end up investigating and getting the phone number for Queen of the Valley, and I end up calling there, and I end up telling them like, hey, my name is so and so, my brother's name is so and so, I'm from Bakersfield, California. They're telling me that he was shot. I'm trying to get more information. I want to know what's going on. Do you have anybody there that's been shot? And they're like, oh, hold on, let me double check. And they're like, no, ma'am, I'm sorry, there's no one here that's been shot, that has been brought in, that's shot. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. So I marked that hospital down, and so my next hospital was Kaiser from Vallejo, and I gave them a call, and the operator answered, and she's like, oh, well, let me transfer you to the ER. And so she transferred me to the ER. And then the nurse picks up the phone, and I'm like introducing myself again, and I told her where I'm from. And I'm like, well, I just got a phone call saying that my older brother was shot. So I'm trying to get information about what's going on. And remind you, I'm still kind of calm, like, because we don't know actually what's going on. So at this moment...
In 2 miles, keep right onto I-405 South towards Santa Monica.
So let me remind you, I'm still like kind of shocked. But at the same time, I didn't know what to expect or what's the outcome of this. And so the nurse is like, no ma'am, I'm sorry, there's nobody here. We have no type of anybody here with the bullet wound, so sorry, can't give you no information. I couldn't been a help. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I hung up. I'm like, what the effing's going on? So then I finally get a hold of some other family members, and I'm talking to them, and I'm asking them like, hey, what's going on? Like, you know, hold on you guys, because I am really yeah. So as I was saying, I called. The nurse is like, no, there's nobody here, I'm sorry man, we couldn't help you, and blah blah blah. So then I get on the phone and I'm calling my cousins all up in Vallejo, all my family, and everybody confirmed that my brother was shot. And that he was at Kaiser. So I'm like, he's at Kaiser? And they're like, yeah, he's been at Kaiser and they've been working on him. And I'm like, what the effing serious? Like, I just got off phone with Kaiser and they told me that they had nobody there with a gunshot wound. That they had nobody. There was no trauma, no emergency, no nothing. So at this moment, when my cousins were telling me that he is at Kaiser, I got lit. The Karen came out of me. Karen came out of me. So there I go. I call Kaiser again, and I get transferred over to the emergency room department. And a nurse picks up. Sorry, you guys. A nurse picks up, and hi, my name is Josie. I want to get some information of a patient that you guys have there. And she's like, oh, okay, so what's the patient's name? So I tell her my brother's name, Daniel H, and his last name. And they ask for his date of birth. And I'm like, March 15th, and the year he was born. And they're like, oh, okay. So she looks into the computer, and she's like, and then she gets back on the phone. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, but there's nobody named by here. There's nobody here by that name. I'm like, are you sure? That name? And she's like, no, there's not. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, can you check and see if there's somebody there in your ER that's been shot? And right away, her answer and her respond back to me, oh no, I'm sorry, ma'am, there's nobody here that's been shot, that's in our trauma room shot. I'm like, wow, really? I gotta take a drink because I'm gonna start getting emotional and I'm gonna start getting more pissed off. As you guys know, me with my bang. Yes, 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 always my bang, bang, bang. So at this point, I'm getting furious. I'm getting pissed off when she tells me she didn't even look to see if there was anybody in the ER, emergency room trauma. Sorry, you guys, I got a phone call and they're looking for a Marlene. Sorry, there's no Marlene here. It's just Josie. Okay, so the nurse didn't even look it up or anything. She was just like, nope, there's nobody here with a gunshot wound. So we were just in the backyard. I'm looking at my sister, and I have the nurse on speakerphone. Like, my sister's on the phone with my cousin, right? And they're all at the emergency room. They're all in that waiting room in the ER at Kaiser, waiting for someone to come out and give them information about my brother. But this effing nurse wants to tell me, like, no, there's nobody there with a gunshot wound. And I have my family there in the emergency room. So I was getting lit. I was getting really pissed off. Enough that I was crying and crying and crying and crying and crying and crying and stuff. I was like, excuse me, ma'am, can you please double check and see if you guys have someone there with a gunshot wound? Because I have family members in your emergency room, waiting for someone to come out and give us information of my brother. And she's like, well, ma'am, let me see if I could get that information for you, because my understanding, we have nobody here with any trauma. I'm like, bitch, you need to go fucking get me information about my brother that's in your guys' ER with a gunshot wound. So yes, please go get that information for me. Put me on hold and come back with me with the answer. She's like, ma'am, you don't have to be getting rude. You don't have to be yelling at me. And I'm telling you, there's nobody here. I'm like, ma'am, I'm sorry that I'm being rude. I'm sorry about how I'm acting. But if it was your brother in the hospital with a gunshot wound, are you going to be sitting there calm and quietly and not respond back like, oh, excuse me, I'm just calling to get information? No. Then you're lying to me and telling me you don't have nobody there in the hospital with a gunshot wound. When all my family's in your fucking waiting room waiting for some response back from you guys about what's going on with my brother, but yet you're gonna tell me there's nobody there. So I was getting really pissed off. And she's like, okay, ma'am, let me put you on hold. So she put me on hold. And I was on hold for like a good 15 minutes. Over exaggerating, I don't think it was 15 minutes. It felt like 15 minutes. Someone else comes on the phone. And at this point, I was like mad. I was crying. I was mad. I was like furious. I was like pissed off. And this nurse comes on this phone. And she was really nice, by the way. And she's like, hi, my name, I don't even remember her name. She's like, hi, my name is this. I'm the charge nurse of the hospital. She's, how can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I received a phone call from some family members that my older brother was shot. I'm just trying to get information about my brother because I know he's in your guys' hospital. I have family there in the waiting room trying to find out what's going on, but nobody's getting a response and no one's came out and spoken to my family. I want to know what's going on. And she's like, okay, ma'am. She was, let me look into it. Let me see what I could do. Let me find out some information for you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. She did all that. I did yell at her and I cussed the shit out of her. And I regret it because at the end, she was really nice to me and she was getting me the information. Because I already knew something was up, you know, just like the way she talked to me and how she was helpful and everything. After I yelled at her, cussed her out, said some horrible things to her and everything, she was still willing to help me out. So then she comes back on the phone and she tells me like, oh, Mrs. Roselle, we do have someone here in the hospital with a gunshot wound. And I'm like, yeah, I figure you guys did. I go, I don't know why I got the runaround 10 times after I called, try to get information on my brother and information that I need. I go, I'm sorry that I yelled at you. I'm sorry that I cussed at you. I'm sorry I said those horrible things to you. But thank you for helping me out. And thank you for getting the information my family needs. She's like, I'm so sorry. You know, I don't know why they were not helping you. Like, blah, blah, blah. All this BS. She's like, I really can't give you much information. She goes, because HIPAA, which I understand. She goes, but I'm going to go ahead and put you on a brief hold. And there's a detective that would like to speak to you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine with me. So she puts me back on hold. A few minutes pass. A detective gets on the phone. And he starts asking me these questions. He's like, oh, so who are you? So I told him who I was. And he's like, who is it that you're looking for? Like, what's going on? I'm like, look, sir, you already know who I am. You already know who I'm calling about. I'm just trying to get information of my brother. I heard he was shot and he's in the hospital. I have no details of what happened. I have no details if he's alive. I have no details if he's dead. I have no details if he's in critical condition. I have nothing. I don't know what's going on. So I would like to get information about my older brother, which his name is Daniel H. and his last name, known as Sticker. And he's like, okay, ma'am. He goes, can you just give me a little bit of details of, you know, of him? Like, does he have any tattoos? Does he have any scars? Or anything like that? And I'm like, yes. I go, he's bald. He looks so much like Tupac, but a Mexican Tupac. I go, he's bald. And then on his head, he has 707, which is the area code of Vallejo and Napa. I go, in the middle is not a 0. It's the Raiders logo. I go, and on one of his arms, he has my mom's name, Mary Lou, tatted on him. And then on his neck, he has Sticker. And then on his back, I know he has a huge ass tattoo, but I don't know what it is. I go, but I know he has a big tattoo on his back from corner, shoulder to shoulder. And then I go, he has another Raiders logo on his leg. And he's like, oh, okay, ma'am. That's good enough. He goes, yeah. Your brother is here in the hospital, but I really can't give you any information about what's going on. I'm like, why can't you give me any information? And he's like, oh, well, it's because one of the family members told us that his mom is on her way. So she's the only one that we could talk to, and that's who we're waiting for right now. And I'm like, okay, everyone, I'm so sorry. I had to cut that off because I got to my location where I was needed to go and stuff. So where I was ending, where I had stopped at on my story time, was where the cop was like, oh ma'am, I'm so sorry, we were told that his mother was on her way and stuff. So I was like, no, we're in Bakersfield and we are like 4 to 5 hours drive from you guys, so my mom is not on her way. And he's like, okay. He goes, hold on, let me see what I can do, let me see what, you know, what's going on. He goes, let me get the higher up detective on the phone so they go speak to you and give you the information that you are requesting. I'm like, okay, thank you very much, officer. Like, I was really irritated. I was really pissed off. Remind you, I was already getting the runaround as it is and everything. And we still didn't know what was going on. We don't even know how my brother got shot, what happened. I had no clue of anything. We had no clue of anything. All we knew was he was shot and he was in the hospital. So then they put me back on hold. And then when they put me back on hold, somehow, coincidentally, I can't even speak now, the call hang up. So when the call hangs up, I got really pissed and I was really mad. So I call again and the operator answered. Oh my God, Josie, the operator answers, and I please tell her, can you please transfer me to the emergency room department, the ER head nurse? And she's like, well, I can't transfer you over. I'm like, look it, lady, I've been getting the damn runaround. I already know my brother's there, shot in your guys' hospital, and you're not gonna put me back on hold. You're gonna get the nurse on the damn phone and she's gonna speak to me. I'm not getting no damn runaround anymore. Like, I've been on the runaround for like the last hour, so I want to get updated information on my brother that is there in your guys' hospital. She's like, okay, ma'am, hold on. And so she gets the nurse, and the nurse gets on the phone. And then at this point, I'm like yelling at the nurse again, and I'm cussing her out again, and I'm telling her all this BS, and I was really pissed off about everything. Like, come on now, like, really, really, come on. Like, put yourself in my situation, I told her. Like, I'm not getting no damn information from you guys about my brother, what's going on, how he's doing, nothing whatsoever. Like, I want information. So the nurse is like, okay, ma'am, hold on, let me get the detective back on the phone, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, please don't put me on hold. Like, please do not put me on hold. Like, leave the phone there, go run the detective. I want to hear background, because when you guys put me on hold, it gets disconnected, or leave me on hold forever. So she did, and then the detective ended up getting back on the phone, and then he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Ms. Roselle. He goes, I don't know what happened, we lost communication. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, like, I guess, like, you know, and stuff. So I was like, can I get an update, please? What's going on? Like, what happened? Like, my own family that was up there didn't even know what was going on, because they didn't want to give any information, because my my mom was driving over there, and she was supposedly on her way to speak to the detective when we live in Bakersfield. So finally the detective gets on the phone, and he asks me all these questions once again, and I verified the questions once again. And he's like, okay, he goes, yes, it's true, your brother was shot. We are investigating what's going on. We really don't know much. I go, he's like, he is here in the hospital. We were actually waiting for his mom to get here so we could speak to her about this, but I understand that you're telling me that your mom's over there in Bakersfield and all his family, like siblings, and we're all here in Bakersfield. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, can I speak to his mom? And I'm like, I'm sorry, officer, my mom really doesn't know anything that's going on. We haven't told her nothing because we were not sure what's going on ourselves. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, I'm so sorry to tell you this, you know, you already know that your brother was shot and everything. I'm so like, sorry to inform you, but it's not good news. And he asked me, like, if I had anybody with me, if I was standing up, if I was sitting down. I was like, I'm okay. My sister's here, my aunt's here, and then I have my nieces and my nephew here. And he's like, okay. And he's like, I'm so sorry to inform you over the phone. He goes, but your brother was shot, and he's actually deceased. He actually passed away with the gunshot wound. At the moment when the cop told me that, I didn't want to believe it, and I was just like going crazy about everything. And I looked at my sister and I looked at my aunt, and I just dropped on the floor and I was crying. I was trying not to scream, because remember, I was across the street from my mom's house, and my mom still didn't know what was going on. And so I wanted to scream so bad, and I couldn't. So I just stopped, and my sister and I told my aunt, I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. Like, he was shot, he was gone. But look, remember, we don't know what happened, so we don't know how he got shot or nothing like that. And so we were trying to figure it out, how to tell my mom that my brother was murdered. And as we were trying to figure out to my mom and tell her, we hear a big scream across the street, and we heard like a lot of people yelling and calling out my mom's name and everything. So we were trying our best not to tell her yet, because we're just barely finding out ourselves. I don't know how she got a phone call. Someone called her and told her that my brother was murdered, and we were not there at the time she got the phone call. So we all started running across the street, and my mom like literally passed out, and we were like all crying, and we were like all, and this is a holiday weekend, so the police officers like, don't even try to come, everything's closed, we can't do nothing until Tuesday, and all this stuff. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he goes, you guys can't even come identify the body yet. Like, we couldn't do nothing, because it was a 3-day investigating how it happened, what happened to him, like how he died or how he got shot. So long story short, my brother, it was daylight still, and he was walking down the street, and as he was walking down the street, he was with another friend. He was actually walking back to his girlfriend's house, And when there was a car that drove by, saw them, made a U-turn, and drove by them again and shot 3 rounds. And the first round missed my brother. He took off running when he heard the gunshot. And there was another gunshot. That one actually did hit him. And then another gunshot. And that gunshot hit him right in the neck. Right in our artery in our neck. So my brother fell on the floor. And there was 2 wonderful ladies that heard the gunshot. One of them was a nurse. She ran to my brother and she put pressure on his gunshot on the neck. And she said my brother was just laying there looking up in the sky. And she was talking to him. She was telling him to live, not to go, that the ambulance was on its way for him to survive and stuff. And by the time the ambulance got there, they picked him up. They kept on doing pressure and he just bled. He bled to death. And they tried to bring him back. And unfortunately, they couldn't. He lost so much blood. And so that's how my brother was murdered. He was murdered in a drive-by. And at the beginning, I was telling you guys, like, oh yeah, like something just caught my attention that I never even paid attention to. So my brother was murdered in 2009. 10 years exactly. Junior was taken away from me. Junior passed away at 7:27 p.m. My brother was murdered around 7:08 p.m. or 7-something p.m. And they both bled to death. It's crazy how, without thinking, I just realized it right now that I'm telling you guys about my brother's story. Like, how it's kind of the same, you know, but 2 different ways. One was a gunshot wound, and one was was hit by a car or truck. And it's just so crazy. Like, I never saw it like that too right now that I'm telling you guys my brother's story. And yeah, so that's how my older brother was killed. I've been getting asked for it. So yes, that's how the things happen. And I was glad to share you guys, even though it's kind of sad and I started crying. I'm sorry about that. But and it's been exactly 11 years that he's been gone. The instructions for the giveaway. I am gonna post a picture on my YouTube channel. You're gonna like it and comment your Instagram name on there. Then you're gonna go to my Instagram, which is Josie Rosenda, and you're gonna like that same picture and you're gonna tag 3 people. The 3 people you tag and yourself have to be following me on Instagram, have to follow Alvin, and have to be following Ulises on Instagram. If you're doing everything correctly, you get 3 entries into the giveaway. I hope you guys like this small vlog about my story and everything. Go like, comment, turn on your notification, and subscribe to my channel. And go do the instructions, everything that I just told you what to do about the giveaway. If you guys want to enter, good luck. Much love to everybody. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I cried for a little bit, but bye.
Rainy day after rainy day, it's straight in, and I can see you smiling at the heaven gate. Lord sending so much love, but still there's so much hate. White people talking on your name, they never see your face. Ice falling from the sky, another rainy day. I close my eyes and see you smiling at the heaven gates. Lord sending so much love, still there's so much hate. They talking on your name but never see your face. Lord took away the sun and he brought the rain. I can see you smiling at the heaven gates. I want vengeance cause I feel the rage. I want the person who did this to burn in flames. Feel the pain, cause that shit turned me insane. In my brain, driving on these streets, it's not a game, it's not a game. I never thought I'd see the day it made me cry. But now you up in heaven and you flying high, flying high.